You know, I look back on this book that I wrote more than 15 years ago, stories that have followed me all of my life. And I look at 13 chapters and I say, my God, from what grandfather told me from his wanderings, I could probably write 10 books without a problem. In fact, any one of these stories, the way grandfather had passed them on to me, I could fill an entire book with a single story, with all the detail and things that he learned along his travels. It amazes me how far he wandered in his life and how much he accomplished. You know, it never really hit me at first how much grandfather wandered. I'd hear these stories and everything. It wasn't until I started teaching that I realized the scope of his wanderings, the intensity of those wanderings, those quests, that hunger for knowledge. You know, if you look at the things I teach at the Tracker School, I teach 232 primitive traps. Only 32 are Lipan Apache. The rest are from all over North and South America. I teach 28 different kinds of bows, only 2 of which are Lipan Apache. I teach 12 methods of building a fire without matches, only 2 of which are Lipan Apache. Some come from South American jungle, Central America, up by the tundra, all over. He had this thirst to preserve the old ways, to learn as much as he could. But it wasn't just the old skills and techniques that he hungered for. He also had more of a passion for religion, philosophy, beliefs. The greater part of his vision was to go out and with the same intensity learn as much as he could about every religion and philosophy that he could find. Take them back into the purity of wilderness, the temples of creation, and there strip away the customs, the traditions, the shackling dogmas, and come up with a pure and simple truth that binds them all together. What an inspiration his life was. And those stories sparked a hunger in me to follow in his footprints. Shortly after grandfather went back to his people and subsequently took his final walk, I began the same quest, following in grandfather's footprints, up to the tundra, through Canada, throughout the United States, down through Central America to South America, to the very tip of Argentina. I wanted to stand in the same place as grandfather had once stood. I wanted to learn firsthand, through experience, not theory, what he touched, what he understood. Not too long ago, I came back from Costa Rica, and I had stood before the very mountain that grandfather had stood before, which is now an active volcano. I trembled inside, thinking that this old man once stood there in his relentless search for truth. He had picked people's brains. He had tried to find truth in all areas of the world that he could travel by foot. You know, one of the things that shock most people is the way this story ends, to teach. To that young boy, me, collecting talking stones, as grandfather called them, fossils, on that beach in New Jersey. How unlikely a meeting. You see, the first thing that comes into the listener's mind is they say, Tom, that is not how you explained it in other books. You explained it that you met Rick first, and he took you to grandfather. No, that's not how I explained it. That's how editors explained it. You see, when the original story was written, they feared that it was too cosmic, too impossible a meeting. These are people who deal with suits and ties and offices and now computers. They didn't think the general public was ready for that kind of spiritual encounter, that kind of spiritual drive in life. No, it was not me who met Rick first. It was grandfather that I met by that bank on the river, collecting those talking stones. I often wonder to myself, how much has been lost? How many stories are out there? How many elders and visionaries have passed away, all to be steamrolled under by the white man's vision, to a point now where we're losing the earth. We see global warming. We see genocide. We see starvation. We see rare diseases. And all of this is somehow leading back to these ancient truths, these ancient wisdoms, because now, more than ever, they're needed to save what we have left of Earth Mother. As for me, teaching is my passion. I love to see people learn and grow, but I must admit that at times, like grandfather, I'm in pain. I came into teaching the tracker school almost 30 years ago with this vision that, yes, maybe I can make a difference. But I look at now and see that I haven't made much difference at all. But yet that's not going to deter me from teaching, because I have grandfather's same dogged determination. I'm obsessed with it. If I can just reach one more person, that's all that counts. For me, I can never think of backing away from teaching. You see, I believe in the spirit that moves through all things. Like that flock of sandpipers you see from a distance. From close up, you see that they're individual birds, but when viewed from far away, 1,000 birds will be flying in one direction, and in a heartbeat, the entire flock will change direction, flashing white bellies to the sunlight. It's the same spirit that moves through all of us, through all things of the earth. And I'm often asked, what does that mean, Tom, that we're going to have to get half the people, more than half the people of the world to start thinking the way we think before the flock turns, before we save the earth? I say no. We just need one more. One more to turn the flock. That's all it takes. But which one is it going to be? Is it going to be one I reach? I don't think so. Could it be one that you reach? Quite possibly. Because in a way, I'm an island. I surround myself with people who speak my language, who understand my passion for wilderness, my love of the earth, and for the Creator. It is you who are really the warriors. You have got to go out to that 9 to 5 world and face people who don't understand your passion. It is you who may reach that last person that changes the direction of humankind. You know, a lot of people look at the problem that this world faces from the destruction of this planet, and they say it's too immense, too huge, too big. What can I do? My opinion is to do anything, something, but don't grow complacent. Don't run away. A simple action could speak volumes. I remember once being at a piney festival in the Pine Barrens. River, my son, was still an infant in his mom's arms, and Cody was only a couple of years old. And we were standing in the middle of a field, and there was a lot of vendors around selling, hot dogs and the usual fair-type food. And the wind was blowing. And I remember that there was a man standing not far from me who lost a napkin. And it went bouncing across this open field, and little Cody let out a squeal, and I let him down on the ground, and he went running after that paper as if it was a wild animal that had gotten loose, and he picked it up. By this time, everybody's watching him, And on his way to the garbage can, he picked up another piece of paper and another piece and went out of his way here and there until his little hands couldn't carry any more paper, and finally dumped it into this garbage can. Well, I watched, and to my amazement, everybody began picking up paper. Elders who could barely walk with their canes were stooping over to pick up paper. Other young children. Within a few minutes, that whole field was cleaned of blowing paper. And I thought to myself, my God, the actions of one small child did more than cartloads of words that I could ever utter as inspiration. Do something, anything. There is a voice out there, a voice you cannot hear with your ears, only with your heart. It's the voice of our mother, the earth. She is crying. She is dying. If you hear that voice, if you love her, then do anything to save her, but do not run away.